the one technique or the one thing that I say to people, like, it's okay if you don't want to use subliminals or affirmations or this or that or whatever, but there isn't a single person in the world that I don't think would benefit from a meditation practice.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Coach Tribe podcast. Today, we have with us Destiny Jones. She's a content creator, she's a coach. She coaches on subconscious mind manifestations, subliminal thoughts, and so much more. Reprogramming. You're gonna hear it all from her today. She has more than almost 30K followers on TikTok, 1.8 million likes on her content. So she must be talking something that people enjoy listening to, that's for sure. She's with us here today. Destiny, hello and welcome.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me on the podcast. I'm so excited to be here. And yeah, I know that we're going to end up having a really amazing conversation. Hopefully I can provide some value to your audience and give you guys some good stuff for helping reprogram your mind for success.
Let me tell you, this is not hopefully. I know for a fact that, we're going to spill the beans. We're going to share those really powerful techniques, tips, tricks, and you're really going to help us today to reprogram our mind for success, I would say, or at least start the journey or, some parts of it. Now, what I want to start with, Destiny, is obviously we can hear all of these words now: reprogramming, subconscious mind, limiting beliefs. What are all of this about, and why is that important for me as an online creator, as an entrepreneur, a coach? Why is it important for me to know about them and to do something about them?
So I guess I'll start with just talking about the power of your subconscious mind. I think a lot of people don't recognize and realize how much your subconscious mind is in control of your everyday actions. I think that about only 5 to 10% of your conscious mind is making the decisions in your day-to-day life, and 90 to 95% of everything that you do, all the little habits you have, whether or not you believe that you can take the steps towards success, whether or not you can take the risk, whether or not you feel confident, in your work and in yourself, like that's all happening in your subconscious mind in the back. And I always say the crazy thing about your subconscious mind is that it was developing the most between the ages of when you were born to when you were 7 years old. So that's very young. That's very, very young. That's when your brain was in this like theta state, and it was just absorbing everything around it to pretty much figure out how to navigate the world. So a lot of the things that you experience during that time are informing your decisions right now. And I think that that's really, really interesting. And a lot of people don't realize a lot of the limiting beliefs that they have, any like subconscious blockages, any types of fears, any lack of confidence in themselves. Sometimes, or a lot of the time, that stems from their childhood, right? And the way that their mind was programmed during kind of a very vulnerable time in their life. So what I like to do and what I help my clients do is go in there, because the brain is like a computer, right? We can always rewrite the code. You're not stuck with that programming, which is what I like to tell everyone. We go in there and we kind of write over the code, essentially create new code in order to reprogram these limiting beliefs and the things that are keeping you a little bit stuck in your life and in your business.
Use that analogy because I feel like many times all of these terms, reprogramming, and they can be quite confusing. So I like when people use analogies, because that makes it, so much simpler and easier to understand, especially if you're not related that much to the topic. But that makes total sense. Now, of course, you're a creator yourself, you're a coach yourself, and I want to ask you, Destiny, from your experience, what have been the biggest, challenges that you faced in terms of your mindset or belief system that, stayed in the way of you going further, or in between you and the desired results? Like, what are some of the biggest things that you see entrepreneurs, creators facing when it comes to putting themselves out there or just going for it?
Okay, so There's a couple different things. I think there is sometimes a fear of rejection. I think that there's a lot of validation that comes from social media. And I think a lot of times in the beginning of the journey for a lot of people, when they put their work out there, and they don't necessarily get the feedback that they were looking for, they have low views or anything like that, they become very discouraged, right? And I think that something that's very important is for you to have a full belief and confidence that the information that you're sharing is important. And there's an algorithm out there that doesn't determine that, right? So if you continue to put that information out there and you continue to share your knowledge and your experiences, the right audience is always going to find you. And if you have that belief, I think it actually happens a lot faster. For me, I was lucky, but I also think that I have this mindset that the information I'm sharing with people, people want to hear. They're interested in. It's going to help them. The right people are always going to find me. They're going to be attracted to me. They're going to be drawn to me. So it's very important to kind of establish this like just core belief in yourself and be able to validate the value of your own work. And then from there, I think social media and all of that will come and validate it as well. The second thing is monetizing. I think that's very, very big for a lot of people. And I think, especially as a coach, it feels very strange for a lot of people to sell themselves, essentially, right? It feels very, very personal, right? And it feels very much like, I don't want to be pushy. I want to help people. Am I no longer helping people if now I'm charging them for it? It's a feeling and it's a limiting belief that I think I personally had to break through, but I think just across the board, a lot of people are very scared to promote their products, to promote their services, and to sell at a fair price that actually their work is valued. And that mindset switch has to be, people are getting so much value from what I'm doing. I think of it as like an energetic exchange in terms of currency and money for the amount of work and effort and the things that you are creating to actually help people. People want to pay you for it, right? You're actually doing a disservice to them by not offering yourself or not offering your services, especially when it's something that can really, really change somebody's life in the ways that coaching in any way, shape, or form, whether it's fitness coaching. I mean, that is a literal entire life change for a person. You should be paid for it, right? Same thing with career coaching, mindset coaching, any type of coaching that you're doing, but not just coaching, just anything that you're doing that's providing value to people. You have to have that mindset shift. People want me to offer my service. People value this. This has monetary value. It's an energetic exchange between the two of us. I don't have to feel bad about, charging for my work. So I think those two are the biggest things that I notice for people. It's the validation from the beginning, and then it's the monetization afterwards.
The Code Tribe podcast is powered by Pensight. I want to take this opportunity to tell you more about Pensight and how much value it can provide you and your coaching business.
Pensight is an all-in-one platform for coaches and educators that enables you to quickly and easily build a highly credible page and sell your knowledge with one-to-one sessions, group coaching, courses, Q&As, digital products, and bundles. Payments, scheduling, video calling, client communications, and everything else is taken care of.
All it takes is 5 minutes to set up, and it's free. It's the smartest way to kickstart your coaching business. Sign up to Pensight today at pensight.com.
So you mentioned fear of rejection, seeking constant validation, and fear of monetization. And I would really like to go over all of them. Obviously, all of these are connected to some limiting beliefs. For those that don't know what limiting beliefs are, I would love for you to sort of explain it in a one sentence, two sentence definition so that everyone knows what we're talking about. And then I want to ask you, what's the sort of root limiting belief behind all of this? Fear of rejection, constant validation, and monetization. We can take them one at a time.
Okay, let's see. So a limiting belief is essentially a belief that you have that holds you back from being able to do or achieve anything, or it's a belief that makes you feel like whatever it is that you're seeking to do is impossible, right? Or it's not possible for you at the very least. And the core behind the fear of rejection, about seeking validation, about a fear of monetization, I think that the core limiting belief that I think a lot of us have is I'm not good enough. And I think it's that simple. It's just not being good enough, right? So if I feel like I'm not good enough and then somebody actually rejects me on top of that, that is proving that I'm not good enough, right? So I don't want to put myself out there because I don't want somebody to prove what I already kind of have lingering in the back of my head, that I'm not good enough. Same thing with seeking constant validation. I'm not good enough. I feel this way internally. So I'm seeking for other people to prove to me that maybe I am, but it doesn't matter how many people tell you you are. If you don't believe it, it's never going to sit with you. You're never going to be able to hold that belief. And I think a lot of creators feel that, and they realize that as they get millions of views and followers and likes and stuff, like if you don't deal with that internal work, it just validation, that it be constant battle of constantly seek out it. We sit with ourselves and we still don't feel good enough. And the same thing with monetization. I'm not good enough to charge people for this. My work isn't good enough. I'm not an expert. I don't know if this is worth any money. I don't know if I have any value. I don't know if I'm good enough. I don't know if I'm as good as that other coach or that other program, or I don't know if I'm providing enough value. So I think at the core of all of these things is just this belief that I'm not good enough. And you are. You always are. You inherently are always good enough.
I could feel in a way the pain. I'm not this, I'm not that. I could feel the sort of negative, the limiting beliefs behind all of this piling up. And I want to ask you, Destiny, what can we do about them? We feel we have this limiting belief. I think first of all we have to be aware of it. But then what? What happens after the awareness stage? How can we deal with them, and how can we overcome a limiting belief?
So when it comes to limiting beliefs, this is stuff that's been wired into your brain, programmed in, usually for a very, very long time. That's my specialty. That's what I really enjoy, is what can we do to reprogram something that's more beneficial as a belief for you, right? So there's a couple different techniques that you can use. Really popular one right now is EFT tapping. Emotional freedom technique is really incredible. It's emotional acupuncture is what I like to say. And it clears out your subconscious. Essentially, it brings all the thoughts to the front, and we're tapping on certain meridian points, right, to release anything that's no longer serving us. If you're a bit lazy, like I said that I was in the beginning, I love EFT. I do it occasionally, but I needed something that I didn't have to consistently do every single day and like dedicate 20 minutes towards. I'm like, I already have to meditate. I already have to exercise. Now I have to tap for 20 minutes. Like, we have to add it to the routine. So I really, my favorite technique is using subconscious reprogramming audios, or subliminal. So this is something that's super, super powerful. It's very similar to an affirmation audio, except for the fact that with an affirmation audio, it's going into your conscious mind, and it's going to take a little bit more time to reach the subconscious, right? To reprogram it. A subliminal bypasses the conscious mind, bypasses the ego. The ego is the thing that's kind of fact checking everything that you're telling the conscious mind before it goes into the subconscious. So I like the fact that we can bypass that, because that's usually your reality check friend. But we don't need that reality check friend in our brain. We can have a reality check friend in real life, but in our brain, we don't need that. And especially when we're trying to break patterns. So when you have a subliminal, you can listen to it during the day. You can listen to it while you're sleeping. That's my favorite time to listen to it. And it's essentially going to be an audio with affirmations that are below the normal threshold for your conscious mind to hear. But your subconscious is always listening. It's always picking everything up. So your subconscious is hearing these affirmations without any interruption from your ego telling that that's not true. For example, if you're like, oh, I'm so confident, I feel so proud of my work, I'm so happy with everything that I've done, I'm having all of those affirmations, programmed into my mind. I don't have an ego that's like, no, actually that sucks. You had 10 views. That doesn't make any sense. That's what our ego does essentially, is it tries to keep us safe, holding on to an identity that matches its belief systems. Essentially, it's your friend. It can be your friend. It's meant to keep you safe, but a lot of times, it's a little bit misguided. misguided. That's what I like to say. It's like a misguided friend maybe giving you advice. So I like to work a lot with going directly into the subconscious with subliminals. I think it's a really, really great technique. Meditation's also really, really amazing. Scripting, affirmations. I know I said affirmations are amazing. And I think that the problem that I said with a lot of people is this ego thing where I'm looking in the mirror and I'm saying, wow, I'm the most amazing person in the world. I am so rich. I am so rich. And you're looking like you're a liar. Like, I'm not rich. Like, my bank account's negative right now. This makes no sense. I feel so stupid. And with affirmations, you have to get past that initial hurdle. You have to keep doing it. It's all about repetition, 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 because once your subconscious hears it enough, it starts to believe it. It starts to accept it, and your ego starts to quiet a little bit. It's like, well, I guess, like, I mean, you've been saying this a lot. Like, it must have some validity. And, you know, your reticular activating system, that's the part of your brain that's filtering out everything that's happening during the day. It starts looking for ways to prove what you were telling it consistently. So I think that affirmations are really great, but same thing with the subliminals. If you have somebody that you really trust to create it for you, or that you've learned how to create them for yourself, I think that's usually the quickest way, a lazy girl method for reprogramming your mind, along with a lot of different things. You can do shadow work as well. There's a lot of things that go into it, but those are kind of my core techniques for getting in there and reprogramming all that icky stuff.
I love them, and I love that there's also a lazy girl technique. I love it. Now, also, you made me curious. Can you tell us a bit more about shadow work, just to briefly mention what's that?
So shadow work is everybody's favorite thing to do. That is really, really going deep into what are the reasons I do the things that I do? What are the experiences that I've had that have shaped me into who I am today, especially the unpleasant things? What could have happened in my past that is contributing to my lack of ability to succeed now? So we go during my coaching sessions, a lot of times we talk a lot about what are the things that happened to you as a child, what's your family dynamic, what are beliefs that were ingrained into you that you find really hard to let go of now, what are things that you might not even realize have been affecting you now. I like to make a joke about a little baby who is learning to walk, and most kids, they learn to walk, they fall down a couple times, they get back up, everything's okay. But what happens for the baby that was learning to walk and they fell downstairs or something? Very, very traumatic. The brain becomes very risk adverse. Natural, something very, very small. You're like, I tried to do something. I tried to walk. I tried to take steps. And now as an adult, somehow this is still affecting me because every time I think about trying something new, my brain has conditioned or has been programmed that sometimes there can be a very, very drastic negative effect or consequence for me doing this. And these are things that we don't necessarily pick up on, but I like to talk about that, like injuries that you've had, like things that you've gone through with in school, with doctors, with body things that have happened to your parents, things that have happened to the people around you. You create some kind of effect in your day-to-day life that you are not fully aware of. So that's pretty much the shadow work. It's going in there, digging up all the dark stuff, bringing it to the surface so we're aware of it. And then from there, we can do the more fun stuff, which is going in and kind of reprogramming.
The more I listen to you, the more absorbed I am, and the more I want to learn from you.
Oh,
you have
so
a very good way to present information and to make it easy for us to understand it. So there you go. Another compliment for you. But honestly, it's very
Reining it in. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
The thing with this was that it can be so overwhelming because you take one limited belief, you sort of deal with it. Obviously, it's a process, but then you uncover another one and another limiting belief, and there is something else like going on, and there is another sort of past trauma that comes and say hello and comes your life somehow, and that is very, very overwhelming because it is true that our whole life we have to work on these things. It's like a never-ending journey. How to deal with that overwhelm when you feel like everything is piling up and there's just so much to reprogram and to deal with?
Okay, so a lot of the things that we're going to go in and reprogram, I think should allow you to be able to exist knowing that the work is never done, but that's okay. That's actually very, very exciting. It's very exciting to see your evolution as a person, and to see as we go in and solve little issue there, little issue there, you have this full confidence and belief that you are getting closer and closer to your higher self, your most ideal version or the best version of yourself. And every little thing that we check off, we're allowing space for more good and abundance and love and happiness and things to flow into our lives. So I don't think you need to look at it as something that should be super overwhelming. And the second it becomes overwhelming, I think this is when we step back from the techniques and we have to ground ourselves, live every day. I don't like when people look at themselves as like a project, right? You are a whole individual at all times. You are always growing. You know, when they say like your masterpiece, you know, and a work in progress all in one. Like, I love that mentality that even as I am right now, like, I'm meant to be here. I'm meant to be on this journey at this point, right? I don't have to feel any pressure to fix, to quote unquote, because there is no such thing as like being fixed. So I think it really comes down to a mind switch and like a perspective switch. And I do a lot of that with my programming, where you're like, it's okay to be me. I am enough, right? When you feel like you are enough, you're never going to stop wanting to work on yourself, but you aren't going to experience so much anxiety, angst when it comes with the idea of like, I need to be better, I need to be better, I need to be better, because you're like, I am enough, but I'm also happy to grow, happy to flourish. I'm happy to welcome in new experiences and versions of myself. And I'm okay with every iteration of myself as it's showing up. So I think that that's an important place to get to. And I think that will probably help quite a bit with this overwhelm of feeling like, oh, I just worked on this and now this has popped up and this has popped up and this has popped up. It's like, okay, cool, exciting. I'm excited to meet another version of myself throughout my life. I'm very excited to meet the version that comes afterward. So I think that's probably the best way to look at any kind of challenge in your life.
It was very powerful, and it just made me think, also just take a breath. Like, this whole time we're putting ourselves under so much pressure, especially as coaches, creators. Sometimes we tend to be perfectionists as well. Is this constant sort of stress that we self-impose on ourselves. We self-sabotage ourselves, and sometimes, you know, you just feel like you just need to, how to say, get some slack, you know, like give yourself some space, give yourself some credit, and just be. And another very interesting thing that has helped me, and it's actually one of the first podcast episodes I've had with Ricky Goodhole more than 1 year ago. He was telling me, we talked as well about limiting beliefs, and I mentioned something about them limiting beliefs being negative. And he told me that from his experience, limiting beliefs should not be seen necessarily as something negative, because at some point in their life, they served us well. They were useful. A present limiting belief might have been something that has helped us in the past. And I feel like that really helped me, because suddenly it wasn't this feeling of that's bad and it's me against them. It was like, okay, this has been useful in the past. I sort of am grateful for it. I accept it, and I try to deal with it from now onwards, and not have that, you know, like sort of negative feeling against it. And I just wanted to put it out there, because that was very interesting when he mentioned it, because we do have this negative feelings, you know, we feel like there's something wrong with us. It was liberating in a way to think of it like that, because in the end, it's all about perspective, right?
Most quote unquote limiting beliefs, right? They're to keep you safe. Going back to the baby example, the baby fell down the stairs, right? Now they're worried about wrists, but that's because at that time, the baby needed to not keep falling down the stairs, right? That was for survival, right? Now we've held on to it at a point in our life where maybe it's not serving us anymore. It might be doing a little bit less, it might be hindering us from certain goals that we want to achieve at this point, but that doesn't mean at some point it wasn't doing something very beneficial for us. It's the same thing with fear in our body. Fear is meant for our survival as a human, right? It's our sixth sense, our intuition, but there's a lot of things that fear can hinder us from. So I think as you go through life and you start to create new goals for yourself, and your business and your love life and money and all these things, it's very, very good. That's why we do the shadow work, to go in and reassess the beliefs that you hold and say, are the beliefs that I'm holding right now still positively impacting my life, right? Are they in alignment with the goals that I want to achieve? Right. And if they're not, okay, then let's figure out what are the beliefs that I want to hold that are now in alignment with the new set of goals that I have for myself, or the new identity that I have for myself. And then we go from there. But yeah, it doesn't have to be this icky, there's something wrong with me kind of thing. It's just like, okay, this is in alignment with my goal right now. So let's change it to something that is.
Honestly, one of my favorite quotes came to my mind when you were sharing this with us, which is, at least once in your life you should question everything that you know. That's a very, very powerful quote, and that is so true. And why, one of the reasons why I think that's so true is because many times the beliefs that we have are not ours. You mentioned childhood. Many times our beliefs are maybe the beliefs of our parents or teachers or friends or so on and so forth. And I feel like, again, that's empowering because you suddenly sort of take your power back. And
Yes.
what happens when you take your power back is that suddenly you become unstoppable. Now, I know you mentioned some techniques that you use in order to overcome these limiting beliefs, and I want to ask you, can you share with us small exercise or like a technique about the, what was it, EFT, the tapping
Yes,
technique?
emotional
Like, is there
freedom
anything
technique.
is there anything without prior practice that we could do at home, maybe even after this episode, that can help us? Like, can we do something by ourselves, or do we need an
Yeah,
expert like you?
of course. So EFT tapping, there are a ton of videos on YouTube for EFT tapping. I teach you just the meridian points that you're going to tap, but it's so, so simple and it's so powerful. I actually did a session yesterday for the first time in a long time, and I was shocked. I was like crying. I was like, wow, there was some stuff back there that I didn't realize was going on. I'm like, I'm going through the meridian points. So essentially, when you're starting with EFT, we're really trying to bring anything that we're feeling to the forefront. So say you're feeling very, very anxious, you want to kind of recognize and dump everything kind of quote unquote negative that you're feeling, or a feeling that you don't want to be feeling anymore, that we want to kind of break through and let go and release. So we can start tapping our head where, I'm feeling very, very anxious right now. I'm very extremely overwhelmed with work. I don't feel like I'm going to be able to complete anything. I don't feel like I'm capable of handling this level of work. I just want to quit. So these are the different meridian points. We're going to go and we're going to keep tapping through whatever it is that we're feeling right now. And we go under our arms and we come back up. Once we've gone through, you can do that as many times as you want until you get everything out that you need to say. Then we're going to switch. So now we're going to switch into how we want to feel. And I'm holding space for the fact that I might be feeling this way now, but I actually really enjoy my work. I actually find this work very, very beneficial and helpful to a lot of people. And I've been able to get through hard things in the past. I've had days like this in the past. Matter of fact, I'm capable of doing this kind of work. I'm very capable. I'm actually more than capable, right? I allow myself to take a breath and feel at ease, that everything always works out for me. I'll be able to complete this in a way that is whatever. I'm trying to think on on my feet. But essentially, you're going to then switch it to how you want to feel, and then I guess it gets progressively like into affirmations of like, wow, I'm a rock star. I can get these things done. And by the end of it, you'll be so surprised at the rush or the things that you'll release. And I remember what came up for me yesterday, and I think that was the moment that I just like randomly cried. Because this is a little bit how I was feeling a little overwhelmed because I had so much work. I was falling behind on a couple of things, and I'm like, I know I have this podcast tomorrow. I have to film for this person. I'm behind on sending my subliminals. I have coaching. Like, I'm like, what am I gonna do, right? And so I'm going through all of this, and then I randomly went, I'm so proud of you. Oh, waterworks. Waterworks. And that's how you know that there was something chilling in the back of me that needed to hear that, right? It needed to release that, needed to let it go. So it's a very, very powerful technique called emotional acupuncture. And there's a lot of really great like YouTube videos on it. There's a creator on TikTok that I absolutely love her work called Haley Hoffman Smith. She does a lot of videos on tapping, and she has a lot of content and like programs and courses around it. So that's a really good resource. And you don't need to follow, like I said, you don't need to follow the YouTube. You can follow it just to get some ideas. And then from there, you can, custom it to however you're feeling or whatever kind of needs that you personally have. But I recommend that. And then I say this in every podcast, everybody I talk to, please do not underestimate the importance of meditation when it comes to reprogramming your subconscious mind. Meditation is so extremely important.
I love how you took your time. So extremely important. You better understand what I'm saying. It's
Yes.
so important.
Yes.
Now, since you mentioned this was
Mhm.
exactly my next question. What about a meditation sort of exercise that we can do? Let's imagine that I am new to meditation. I don't know exactly what it is or how to do it. Can you teach me how to do it for
How to
a
meditate.
beginner?
Yes. I think that sometimes people overcomplicate meditating, and meditating, you're going to try probably a couple different methods before you find the one that kind of works best for you. Some people are really good at just sitting in silence. That was a little bit more difficult for me when I started out. I personally love to listen to frequency music. So I'll have on YouTube, I have this 10-minute frequency music to play while I'm meditating. And I literally sit down or I lie down. I get very comfortable. I'm not super strict with my posture or anything. I want it to be something that I feel comfortable and that is relaxing to me and allows me to go into the theta state or even into the delta state, right? So I am going to be breathing in for 8 seconds. I hold for 8 seconds. I breathe out for 8 seconds. If that's a little too long for you, do it in 4. Breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4. And we just kind of repeat that over and over again. I learned meditation from a Kundalini yoga, and she really liked doing mantras. So for a lot of people, this was the game changer for me when it came to having an overactive mind. Extremely overactive. I was such a meditation hater. I was a hater. I was like, this sucks. This might be good for some people, but this doesn't work for me, right? I don't know. This is a little woo woo. What is sitting down in silence going to do? My brain is never silent. There's no such thing as silence, right? And I still believe that. I don't think that you need your brain to turn off. I don't think that that's the goal of meditation. It's just being able to sit and be the observer of the thoughts that are going by, right? And not attaching to them, letting them kind of flow through, kind of recognizing and observing what's coming through, kind of being very aware of the present moment, hearing the sounds that are happening, the house, the floorboards are creaking, just being present and teaching your body to exist in this moment, which I think is sometimes very difficult for people. But when you're able to master it, it's the most life-changing skill that you're ever going to be able to have. And if you've ever wanted to slow down time in a moment, oh wow, being able to be present, it's like a euphoric kind of feeling. So I realized that I just did an ADHD thing. Come on, going back to the mantra. The mantra was Sata Nama, and I would repeat that over and over and over in my head. And I think it means something like "you're the truth" or "the truth is within" or something. I hope I'm not butchering that, but it's something regarding the truth, right? And it can be anything, but I literally just started repeating that in my head. You can say it out loud. A lot of people say it out loud. Like I said, this is up to you how you like to meditate. But when I started doing that, I realized my brain was so focused on just saying Satanama. It kind of cleared out some of the thoughts right? In the very, very beginning. So I like to say 5 minutes or 10 minutes if you're a beginner. That's really great. Guided meditations, I think, are the most popular. I think people really, really love guided meditations. And I think that's really amazing for manifestation work as well, where you're able to kind of visualize going into the environment you want to be in or living the life that you want to live. And somebody is kind of guiding you through that and allowing your body to feel the feelings of being in that moment. So I think guided meditations are really great for a lot of people as well. But I use those as supplementary. I think that there should be meditation that's really just focused on coming to your breath and being present in the moment. So that's my recommendation for starting meditation and really learning, really learning to like not judge yourself, not worry about the fact that I have a million thoughts. I couldn't get through the 5 minutes one day. It's a muscle. That's how my teacher described it to me. She's like, it's a muscle that you have to develop. Right? It's like going to the gym. In the beginning, it's a little bit difficult. You might feel sore the next day. You might not want to do it. But if you continue to do it, it becomes easier and easier. And the results will just be astronomical. And once you see the results, you'll realize like, this is so important for me to keep up as a practice. And I'm telling you, everybody, it's beneficial for everybody. It's the one technique or the one thing that I say to people, like, it's okay if you don't want to use subliminals or affirmations or this or that or whatever, but there isn't a single person in the world that I don't think would benefit from a meditation practice. I'm like so passionate about it, and especially for children. I think it's the most amazing thing for your nervous system, for just learning emotional intelligence. That is being able to recognize all the feelings that are happening in your body and being very secure and sure of your own energy versus the energy of people around you, and being so sure of your intuition, like being very grounded in your body. It's like a superpower.
I swear I was just like a kid watching something they really like. I was smiling all the time that my cheeks hurt because you have such a beautiful way to explain us these concepts and to just make us believe in the end in the power that they can have lives. So thank you for trying to make us understand that this is really something powerful that we can use to change our lives. Now, we are at the end of the episode, and I would like to ask you, Destiny, what are a few powerful affirmations that we as creators and entrepreneurs can use in order to, let's say, get to the next level or just become better versions of ourselves?
I think just going back from the very beginning of our conversation, the affirmation, I am enough, does wonders. I am enough. I am more than enough. I am extremely talented. I have gifts to share with the world that the world is looking for. What I am offering, people are searching for. They are begging for it. And I think that in terms of money, it's the same thing. I like to say this affirmation is like, people want to pay me for this. People want to give you back value because of the immense value you're giving them. So learn to receive it, accept it. I am so happy to receive the energetic exchange between me and my clients. I am so grateful for the ability to be able to share and help people and to be compensated for it and to be a part of this. I love saying energetic exchange. I think it feels good to say that, like when you're thinking about this money is circulating its value. Like this money is not more valuable than this life lesson or this reprogramming or this skill or that. This is all just an energetic exchange between all of us. It's like, what can I give you? And then what are you going to give me in return? And it's this beautiful thing. So yeah, like people want to pay me. I'm enough. I'm more than enough. I'm very qualified. And I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. That's a good one that I learned yesterday. I'm proud of you. Say that to yourself. I feel like I'm going to cry. Not only do you say, I'm proud of you, something that it popped up for me was like, little Destiny is so proud of you. I'm so proud of who you've become. You're so cool. Like, I'm so proud to have grown up into you, right? Oh, I'm going to cry, right? It's such a sweet thing to hear when you think like, oh, am I somebody who my younger self would be proud of?
I'm sure right now some of us listening to this, some of our listeners are sort of feeling you and really feeling the emotions for themselves, because these are, in the end, powerful. And it's just beautiful to be able to say that to ourselves and about ourselves, and more than say it, to believe that, because that is game changing.
Yeah.
Now, Destiny, this has been fantastic. It was really, I believe it can be life changing, honestly. And I want to thank you very much. And I want to ask you, where can people find you? How can you help them? And why they should reach out to you?
You can find me on TikTok. My account is Dreams of Destiny. My Pensight page, I'm sure if you can put it somewhere, maybe in the description. That's where you're going to be able to access any of like my coaching, the subliminals, the tools. I just finished up a manifestation workbook called Bending Reality. That's going to be launching next week, so that's exciting. And I'm in the process of finishing up a course. So I'm really excited that you guys have that on your platform. Can I just say, I'm just going to give a little shout out to Pensight, guys. It's really such a good platform. I've had so many issues with so many other ones that I was using before. And I mean, just even the level of customer support. Look at us like having this conversation. It just feels more of like a family a little bit. So I really enjoyed that. And it's a platform that I think is very user friendly. It's very good for me in the back end, nothing complicated. So yes, I very much love it. So yes, you can find me on Pensight. That's where everything is going to be listed. And then on Instagram, my Instagram is destiny.c.jones. That's a little bit more of just if you're curious about my life, the way that this mindset programming has affected my life. I've been able to, live a very, very colorful experience, just traveling and manifesting things that are just feel like out of my wildest dreams. So that's how you can find me. And if you are looking for somebody to kind of help you get started on your journey, I'm here.
Destiny is the one, and I am sure that you are convinced of how much she has to offer, because this has been a great episode, and she knows truly so many things that can make a difference. And first of all, thank you, Destiny, for being here, for supporting Pensight and all the kind words that you shared. I love the fact how you said it. It's more like a family, because that's how I see it as well.
Mm-hmm.
And what can I say, dear listeners? Go follow Destiny. If this was somehow useful for you today, which I think it was, since you're still here with us, go follow her. Check out her Pensight page, that manifestation workbook, the subliminal audios, and everything else she has in there, and give it a go. You might just have stumbled upon something life-changing here. So yeah, Destiny, any last words?
Thank you so much for having me here. Right. I love these kinds of conversations. I love being able to share, with people, and I get so much from it as well, so it's been really, really like a beautiful, little episode for me. And to everybody who's been listening, thank you so much for saying, and I wish you just like the best of luck. I feel like this is like the first step on your journey to becoming exactly who you want to be, right? So that's exciting in and of itself. Welcome. There's no turning back. You're already on the journey. You took the step already.
You took the step already. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Destiny. Thank you, dear audience, for sticking till the end. And see you all to the next episode of the Coach Tribe podcast. Have a good one. Hope you enjoyed this episode.
We'll be releasing every Wednesday, so make sure to
subscribe
and rate us 5 stars where you're listening to this show to give others a chance to discover it too.